Buddy, welcome back to another episode of Speed Tips by Bob and Chad. Hopefully, everybody got to race a little bit last weekend. I know I went to Boone Speedway and they got the heat races in, but they actually ended up getting rained out. Uh, Rain came in there like gangbusters, and I mean, it dropped a ton in just a heartbeat. And looks like they had a pretty successful show up to 141. You were up there, Chad.
Yeah, it was a pretty good time. They kind of got rushed there with the weather coming in and had to roll with no farm, so the feature was a little bit of a one lane, but it was still an exciting race, and it was a good turnout of people. And CZ's doing a lot. They're improving that facility, and it was nice to get back over there and see all them guys and hang out over there. It was a good week.
Good. Oh, that's awesome. So what's new and exciting at Weir's Machine?
Well, now we're getting ready for next week. Big
Yeah,
Harris Clash.
the Harris Clash next
Yeah.
Tuesday, a week from tomorrow night. That's going to be exciting. We've pre-entry looks pretty good. Everything looks good. Uh, I'm excited about that. Everything's coming together real good. Uh, yeah, I'm just excited. I can't wait. I mean, it's going to be. And of course, this year we moved it into June instead of August, so it seems like it's coming really fast. And of course, it's moved ahead quite a bit, but you know, we've definitely been trying to beat the feet with the social media and campaign that deal pretty good, and so it's been good, and it's going to be a great event. Those of you who are out there, of course, if you can't come to actual Boone Speedway, which I mean, you know, you got to come. But if you can't come, definitely uh, watch it on IMCA TV. Those guys do an awesome job, and so I'm looking forward to it. 34 years, that still amazes me. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty
Jeffrey,
cool. We're
I'm
excited.
definitely excited about this event. We've been working at it pretty hard all year, and so yeah, I'm thrilled.
Yeah, we're excited. My guys are pumped. They're what's better than one trip to Boone? Two.
There you go. Well,
Yeah.
and my old buddy Kenny Wallace had me on Kenny Conversations with him, and that was exciting. And of course, an interview with Kenny is always exciting. So
Right?
that was fun, and definitely looking forward to it. What else you got going? Any other specials you got coming up that you guys are being getting prepared for? Are you
Well,
going on the North Dakota tour?
we had a lengthy meeting this morning about that week. That's a busy week. We got the Dakota tour and the Go for 50 overlap. So
Oh,
that's what we were trying to figure out who's going where, who's doing what, and so I think we're pretty much dialed in on both, but uh, not etched in stone yet. But I think we'll be at both the Go for 50 and the Dakota Tour. Whether or not we hit the first night of the Dakota Tours to be determined, or we pick up on the second night. But we'll just have to see how next week goes and the week after. So, but yeah, we haven't been on the tour for a couple years, so we need to get up there again and do it. So we're tentatively scheduled for it. So.
yeah, yeah, Ken. I don't know the actual numbers. The pre-entry list statistically, I've talked to other promoters. The pre-entry list isn't always as strong. They kind of tend to pre-enter the last week. Um, And a lot of people don't pre-enter anymore. It's only a $25 difference in money. So a lot of guys don't pre-enter. I was talking to one promoter today, and he said that this year his events that the pre-entry lists have been down, but his car counts were great, and And so, but I actually can't tell you, Ken. I actually don't really know. I glanced at the list and didn't pay any attention to what the total was. But yeah, that was a fun show with Kenny, Jeffrey. I had a good time with that. That was pretty good. But it's hard to have. I mean, it's hard to be around Kenny Wallace and not have a good time.
Right. Well, I
He's
brought a new
definitely
product.
awesome.
The boys released the mod light cages today, so we've been working with Joker Chassis getting these things dialed in, and we got them ready to go. So we're ready to release them, and we got an aluminum clamp and some of the same plates that we use on our standard cages. So a lot of modular configuration, so you can do pretty much whatever you want. So we're excited to get into the mod light platform, and we got this cage, and we made a pinion mount for them, and so a whole new avenue for us, and we're excited to be a part of that class now.
I tell you what, that class is growing. I mean, they always have a huge field at Boone, and they put on some dang good racing. I mean, they're definitely doing a good job, and you see quite a few of them around the country. And I know we just actually finally built radiator screens for them, and we do a fair amount of shock business with those guys. So yeah, it's a pretty neat little class.
What's the format going to be?
Um, for the Harris class, the stock cars will run first, and depending on the cars, I don't know how many heat races and how many Bs, but stock cars will run first. Sport mods will run second, and then the modifieds will run last. Um, just from my experiences, and I could be wrong, but um, seems like the stock cars, if the racetrack goes away a little bit, they kind of tend to be a little bit more around the bottom. And of course, Boone, the bottom tends to hold a little longer. And so I decided that we'd run them first. That way, then they've got a top and a bottom, and it'll make good races for those guys. Sport mods run pretty much all over. And of course, the modifieds, a lot of times the modifieds end up running closer to the top, but still the bottom's pretty good. But with the modifieds, the middle actually will come in. So by running in that particular order, I think we'll have some really great racing.
It's not passing points, right? It's just the
Yes. The winners of the heat race automatically qualify and they'll go into the redraw. And then the actual second place will be whoever is highest in passing points for that particular heat race. So you could start last and finish third and still end up, having more passing points than the guy that ran second if he started in second. So that way, if you get a stacked heat race and you get stuck in the back, it kind of rewards the guy that's capable of running, so he doesn't, you know, just gives every. And I think it makes a better show for the fans because, of course, the fans are cheering for that guy that's back there doing all the passing because they know he's going to automatically qualify for the A and he'll be in the redraw, and so. The stock cars will be 25 laps, 24 cars. Sport mods will be 20 laps and 25 cars, which will be 20 cars plus a provisional and a past champions provisional. And then the modifieds will be 30 cars plus a past champions provisional. And then the modifieds will be three wide.
exciting.
Yeah. So it should be a pretty interesting show. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna. Boone always produces great racing, and you know, we'll see what Jeremy Mills. He's kind of been on a roll there. I don't know how many features he's won there, but he's been really sporty this year. His car's been awesome. So we'll see if when everybody else comes to town, if he's his luck stays out or sticks out. But there's been a lot of fast cars. I mean, it's the racing's been good there all year. The racing's been good.
Yeah.
So
Well, we're about halfway through the year, so maintenance has been a topic around here the last week or so.
oh,
We
I
were at
bet.
140. We were at 141 and seeing a lot of lack of maintenance already. Halfway through. So make sure you're taking your sliders apart and greasing them and cleaning them. And we had some pull bars that were pretty dirty and not maintenance, and suspension cages that haven't been turned in a while. And so this is the time of the season, especially rolling into a midsummer special like the Harris Clash next week. You want to make sure that everything is good to go, and so that's a lot of why we go to the track. We got guys bringing stuff over, and we're freshening it and working on it, and teaching them how to work on the stuff. And it's a lot of fun to get out there and be at the track and help them guys work on their cars. So definitely the time of year where you need to start maintenance and that stuff if you haven't yet.
Well, it's definitely that's the case. And the thing of it is, I mean, have you looked at the month of July? I mean, my God, there's racing I mean, almost every day of that month. And
Yeah,
so it's unreal. There's a lot of races coming up, a lot of good paying specials coming up. Yeah, it's definitely going to be for the racers. It's definitely going to be a big advantage.
yeah,
I know we're starting to get some people cycling their shocks in, getting some stuff rebuilt, getting some stuff freshened up, kind of getting ready for this big month of. I mean, there's enough races in the people will race as much in July as they have already this year. So it's going to be pretty neat. And then North Dakota tour is always a neat deal. I mean, I haven't been up there for quite a few years, but last time I was there, I always had a great time, and they put on a good show, and those racetracks are pretty neat. So yeah, it's a good event.
is Bobby going? Are you going up there at all or
No,
no?
no, we're just actually so busy in the shock department, and Braden's going. He's going to take and run his stock car up there. And I kind of wanted Bobby to go too, but I wouldn't have anybody in the shock room for a week. So that's not going to work.
You'd have to knock
Uh,
the dust off and get back at it,
there you go. Yeah, yeah. That would be exciting.
right?
I'd be able to get one shock done a day. Production would be high.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. Well, we've been working on the new shock trailer, getting it ready for Super Nationals, uh, building a big ass bench in there. Got the air conditioner came in Friday for it, and so the boys should have a fairly nice work environment come Super Nationals time. And as they spend 8 days in total confinement, they need to have something pretty nice.
Yeah, I can't believe we're talking about it. Jim Standard was at 141, and we were talking about Super Nationals. It just don't seem like it's that time, but it is.
Oh yeah, I mean that's we've actually started talking about some of the stuff. Of course, our main focus has been the Harris Clash, but as soon as that's over next Tuesday, um, it's like I said, we've been working on the bench, getting the bench built and getting all the shock stations in there, and so it's going to be nice. It'll be nice to have some extra room. Ordered the doors from 4 Wide uh, last week, so we should have them here in a couple 3 weeks. So it's all coming together. But like I keep telling everybody, believe it or not, I mean, this is only June, but September's not far from June. Trust me, it'll go really fast.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody's got any questions out there, we sure got some time to answer some questions. Be more than happy to answer some questions. Um, One thing I've got a question for all you listeners. Uh, we need to invite some more guests on the show with us, and if anybody's got any recommendations or whatever, definitely uh, chime in here, and we'll see what we can do. Adam, on a USREB mod, would adding a J-bar split make the right front bottom out even more? It hits every once in a while on a semi-characteristic track. Last weekend, the track had a lot of chop to it, but had a ton of grip. So I added some split. I did the previous week, and it bottomed out the right front fender rail worse this week. Well, and it's gonna if the racetrack had grip and it was fast. I mean that's just gonna happen. What's your opinion, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, when you add angle, you're going to add side bites, so it's probably going to be probably roll over a little more. And adding angle to them, anytime you have a lot of angle in a bar and the track gets character, it's not much fun. So that's one thing that we always looked at was when the track was rough, you wanted longer arms and you want them flatter, so it's not such a terrible ride if you would across the bumps. But I would say definitely adding split to the J bar would make it roll over more, give it more side bite, and possibly bottom the right front out more.
Alan, why does our modified hypo high on the left and roll over severely on the right rear and stays that way all the way down the straightaway? Um, a lot of times that's a case of the rear end maybe being too far to the right, or too far to the left, I mean. That's kind of common. The cars, and it seems like that's kind of a characteristic. Um, I don't know. I mean, the car's a little out of balance for sure, and it's definitely, you know, too soft on the right rear or something to that effect is causing the problem. We had some problems like that, and we ended up moving of course, on our BHE cars, we've got, we can move the springs inboard or outboard, and we moved the right rear spring out more, and that definitely seemed to help it not do that as much. So something to think about. Dorothy, I did do a little bit of research. The problem was I got so many answers that I don't know what I could actually tell you that I thought made any sense. But the common thing is they are definitely drooping a lot more, and that's the key is more droop definitely gets you more trailing arm angle, which gives you more drive angle, which is going to actually stick that left rear tire a little harder. So I wouldn't be afraid to put more droop in it. That seems to be real common, uh, a pretty common trend. The other thing with more droop in it is it puts more steer in it, so the car you can actually run the car a little bit tighter, and it'll rotate in the center of the corner better and come off better because of the angle. So I wouldn't be scared of putting more droop in it. That definitely, I think, helps. What effect does shorter versus taller upper trailing arm mounts on a 9-inch Ford floater in a stock car? Um, to be honest with you, I we played with that, and I couldn't really see that there was a huge advantage one way or the other. The shorter ones seem to have more traction. It just seems like it, and I know when they are shorter, they're a little harder on the bushing. So if they're harder on the bushing, that's a pretty good indication that we're getting more traction there. Um, but we didn't, we've tried, I mean, we didn't do anything super crazy, but definitely think it would be something, I like the shorter myself. I think it's just more consistent. Brandon says he would recommend Joe Dosical from Dirt Hustler. That's a good idea. Michael, have a sport mod. What would you run, a Panhard bar or a J bar? We run a J bar. Well, I definitely, Michael, if you can run a J bar, I would definitely run a J bar because, of course, number one, it's in front of the housing. So as the rear end wraps into it and the car rolls over to the right rear, you don't get so much split where behind the housing, when the rear end wraps up and the car rolls to the right rear, you get quite a bit of split in the J bar or in that Panhard bar, which in turn tightens the car up quite a bit. So if you can run a J bar, I like the J bar better. I think the location of the J bar is better. It tends to load both rear tires a little more evenly. So if I had the option, I would run if my rules allowed me to, I would run a J bar.
which I don't think you can in a sport mod, right?
No, no, IMCA Sport Mod you cannot run. You have to run the Panhard bar behind the housing. Chris, sorry if I missed it, but I was wondering if you figured out parking situations. Also wondering what the plan is for a rain date, as it looks like quite a bit of rain coming in the next 10 days, including Tuesday in Boone. Chris, we can't talk about that stuff. Um, Hope to see there, weather permitting. Parking's going to be pretty much, you know, they've got that big back lot, so there's going to be a lot of parking back there. The local guys that have concrete pads up front that they've already paid for the year, they will get those. Um, so parking is going to be kind of a first come, first serve as you come in the gate, so to speak. Rain date, we do not have a rain date. I was actually going to talk to Mr. Lawton about that tomorrow, but at this point in time, we do not have a rain date, so I can't actually answer that question. Jared, Bob, Camaro hobby stock have great corner entry. Car is free side center off. Run 900 left front, 1000 right front, 200 AFCO traction leaf on the left rear, and a 225 right rear. Run um, run an 8.3 shock and a 6.3 shock on the left rear, and a 5 gas and a 4.6 on the right rear. On the right rear, 4.6 is better than the 5 gas, but still have a hard time not blowing the tires off as trying to roll through the throttle. Thanks, no leaf spring cars aren't your thing. Um, One thing that I did, back in the day, um, I always used to go take my leaf springs apart, polish them real good, and then I actually went to the John Deere store and bought some of their spray graphite that they use on combines and stuff like that, and put graphite, that spray graphite in there, made them a little bit softer, seemed to give me more traction. Um, Once again, the leaf springs aren't ideal for traction. Rear percentage is, leaf springs rear percent's kind of the king. Um, the problem, of course, your hobby stock's probably a little closer to heavy on the weight rule the way it is. But if you can move some weight, take some weight off the front, move some weight to the back, definitely would be better. Uh, Jared, rear is 52%, left is 53.2, and bite is around 120 pounds on a G60, 3260 pound. Yeah, that rear percentage is really light. I mean, you need to have that. Well, I'd be looking for everything I could think of in that car that I could possibly move to the rear to try to get more rear percentage. I mean, the bite's good. Yeah, all that looks pretty good, but yeah, rear percentage is just way, way, way light. Kyle, get Grabowski on here. Also, Chad, did you bring your mod light cage to the show? Well, Kyle, you weren't paying attention. You must have just logged in.
Got on here late. Yeah, we had it on earlier, but yeah, this is the new mod light cage. We work with Joker chassis on this, so got it pretty dialed in. It's a aluminum clamp for the 2.5 inch diameter tubes. Has the brake bracket mount on there, and then it's modular, so it takes the plate configurations we have for our standard modified stuff, same shock mounts as our modified stuff. So we're excited to be in the mod light world, and got a lot of cool people in there that we've been working with. So we're excited to venture in the new market for us.
Yeah, Jordan would be a great guest. We haven't had Jordan on since he's actually been building his own Brand X cars. So he would be another good one to get on the show. Um,
Yeah, he was pretty good at 141. I'd say if that racetrack didn't rubber, he probably was winning, but it would have been a battle.
I tell you what, those cars, like I said, Mills's cars been bad to the bone at Boone. His stuff, Jordan's stuff's going really well. Edward, was Soda Midwest modified? J-bar right or left side of the housing is the best option. Well, you definitely want to have it, you know, going from the left frame rail to the center of the rear end would be the preferable. The problem with doing it on the right side, you'll get a ton of side light, but the problem is it's going to hold that car over in the right rear all the time, and it's not definitely going to help you there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he meant like a short bar on the left side of the pinion instead of going to the right rail. Maybe he was thinking left or right side of the pinion, meaning a short bar on the left
Oh, I
side
got
versus.
you. Sure. Yeah, that's a possibility. Um,
Yeah.
we played with that a few years ago, and the problem was is like too short. And I mean, it just reacted too quickly. When it was on, it was bad fast, but it was a little finicky.
Yeah.
Jared says no lead in the front, all weight is in the rear that he has in back, a 16-gallon fuel cell. Weight is above the rear end housing, a no further than 2 inches from the housing. Weight is 26 to 30 inches above the track surface, about my shoulder height. Would softening my right front get the weight to the right rear faster and more load on the right rear? Yeah, most definitely. Um, yeah, definitely. You got any ideas for him, Chad?
Yeah, I was eyeballing that right front spring, wondering if it was just needed to get some more transfer. So I would definitely agree with that. I'd maybe soften that right front and see how that does. I don't know if that's not a lot of spring split. I was wondering if that was maybe making it just a little bit tight in the middle, and then you were grabbing a little bit more wheel, and once you picked up the fuel is why you got the free off. But yeah, pairing up the front would definitely tell you that for sure.
Yeah, and actually flopping those springs,
Or
that stiffer
yeah.
left, putting that right front spring in the left front, stiffening that left front would actually tighten the car up getting in, and probably definitely help too. Oh, you're Silver Dollar Speedway in Chico, California. I've actually been there once. Um, I was a whole lot younger and had a whole lot more hair back then. So it was a long time ago. Kevin was struggling when the track had traction in it with the right front bottoming out. Went to a heavier right front spring, which helped in the heat, but when the racetrack slicked off, I had no side bite or forward traction. Would the spring change cause the lack of traction in the slick? Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I would say so, Kevin. I mean, the thing, a lot of times people will actually change a spring, and believe it or not, you can actually put a stiffer spring in, and the car will actually bottom out more. So that's kind of telling us that what's going on is something in the back of the car, the way the pull bar is located, or your brake floater, or something else is actually causing that thing to get over on the right front. Granted, when the racetrack is heavy, your mile per hour is substantially higher. Um, and that might be something that you could think about. I don't know what your weight percentages are left side and right side, but I would highly think about adding or moving some weight from the right to the left, making my left side percentage just a little bit heavier for that tractioned up type racetrack. Um, Something to consider.
Yeah, that early in the night is kind of tricky when it's all gripped up, and your thought is to stiffen the spring like that, but later in the night when the pace slows down, it don't get the motion. So I agree. I think flatten the brake floater rod out, or do something to get the motion later. But or shorten the chain. You can shorten the chain earlier in the night and
Yeah.
free it up in the a lot of grip. That'll take a lot of that motion out of the car too. Um, so it's a balancing act for sure. And when you got a track, it sounds like the track changes quite a bit from early in the night to late in the night. So then you got, the grippier it is earlier and the slicker it is later, the more variable and the harder it is to balance best of both worlds there. But um, yeah, definitely instead of a spring change, maybe a wheel space or two or something like that. But definitely something to think
Yeah,
about.
moving that right rear out with a wheel spacer would be another good idea.
Yeah,
Definitely help
that
it
would.
keep off. That would help keep it off the right front because what's happening sometimes is it gets on the right rear so hard that it forces it to go. on the right
Yeah.
front real hard.
Yeah. Slide the right rear out, takes that side bite away earlier in the night, and uh, takes some of that early motion away.
Corey says, an IMCA modified, what effect would I see with more left rear bar split? Um, what's your thoughts on that, Chad?
Well, I don't know if you're talking about like length split. Um, Having the if you're talking about length split, having a longer upper and a shorter bottom is how we get the motion. But if you go more split with a shorter bottom, will make you freer in. If you go more split with a longer top, then it slows that top side motion down, and can really make it tight in. So it's kind of one of them balancing acts. I'd say one of the most popular things right now, because of the motion that we're getting and the amount of steer we're getting, is to lengthen the bottom rod and take the split away so that you don't get so much steer dynamically when you're hanging on the chain, because you want to get all that dropout. So um, you know, bar split is definitely something that the guys are constantly working with and playing with. And if you go to a shorter track, you put a shorter bottom on, and if you go to a big track, you put a longer bottom on. So I see guys, playing with them bar links all the time, and there's definitely something there.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Well, we all need to say our prayers for good weather in Boone Speedway next Tuesday night. We can't have this rain. Not looking good. Actually, Tuesday has the best forecast of the group of days. So
That's a long ways.
so we're just going to go with that it's going to be the best day out of the group. And like I said, for those of you who want to watch that, you can watch it on IMCA TV. If you're not able to be there in person, it's definitely it's going to be a great show. Chad, you're saying more split. Yeah, Bob, Kyle Larson, Brad Sweet, and Colby have it now.
We're talking not like stagger. We're talking about bar split. So I think right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about length of bars. So like your car wouldn't have that adjustment. I don't. Can you move the things around on the Leafs? I don't even know.
Uh, well, not really. I mean, you can put spacers in there, and you can have more arch in one spring than the other. I always used to run a plus 1 inch arch on the left rear with a 2 inch spacer, and then my right rear was a standard arch with a 1 inch spacer. Um, Jim, chassis manufacturer calls for a 5.5 inch split from the frame mount to the pinion. Wondering if widening that split would help free the car up on entry through the center of the corner. E-mod restrict or plate on the motor and a 514 gear is mandatory. Seems to not get up on the left rear bar all the way. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think raising the panel bar on the frame side would definitely help it turn in, and then it's going to have more rake, more split in the J bars, so that's going to help it then roll over effectively. So that might be a pretty viable change for that situation to free the car on entry.
Um, John, I'm late getting on here, but will more right front spring free entry but increase drive off? Um, Actually, it will, because more right front spring tends to keep the car off the right rear. That being said, though, you got to be real careful and not get too stiff on that right front because it's pretty easy to scotch that or to for that tire to lose traction. And then, of course, when it loses traction, then it's going to push and it's not going to be any good. So you have to be careful with that. But it will increase drive off the corner. So, we used to always run a stiffer right front spring. But now the trend, in today's world is getting the car on the right rear more, getting more side bite, and getting the whole car on the right side more. So that's why we're tending to go with a softer right front. But in answer to your question, yes, it will. You said though I didn't have enough split in the front spring rates.
Spring split. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. I didn't. I just looked at it that if it was like an 1100 and a 900, that'd be a lot of spring split. But you only have 100 pounds, so either swap them or run a pair of 900s.
Oh, gotcha. Jared was saying that the promoters of the Silver Dollar Speedway, Chico, California, are Kyle Larson, Brad Sweet, and Colby Copeland. We just
Well, that's
got the
cool.
same lightning poles as Knoxville in the infield. Awesome.
I tell you what, it's pretty awesome. I went to the high limit race, sprint car race 2 weeks ago in Menominee. I've been working with Tanner Thorson in the open wheel deal, and uh, you know to see what Kyle Larson has done for the sport and bringing the people and him going and running weekly at these tracks. I mean, the place was absolutely packed. So, and when I was a kid back in the day when my dad had the racetrack, he had Dick Trickle and Bobby Allison and Dave Marcus and all these NASCAR guys came back up in short track race to get the people to come out and get, some vibe back to the sport. These guys that race professionally on the NASCAR level could do a lot more for short track racing and come back and not charge promoters $5,000 or $6,000 to show up. I mean, let's be real here, they can't afford that. So when I see these NASCAR guys go run short track and see it impact the grandstands, that's what short track racing needs, is these celebrities, if you will, of the sport to come back and give a shit about their local tracks. And that's awesome to see what Kyle and Brad are doing, because the vibe is just electric there at them races, and it's a lot of fun. And they have one class and they get it done by 9:30 on a school night. I mean, take note. You don't need 16 classes to have a successful racetrack. I mean, people don't want to be there for 6 hours. They want to be there for 2.5 hours and see a hell of a race. You don't need six classes. A lot of the tracks that are, Dell's Motor Speedway is one. That's where my dad used to own. So they're rotating their classes so they don't have a marathon program, and their crowds are up. It's amazing. And the guys get a week off. You can go race somewhere else or go boating or go side by siding. So I think that's pretty awesome what them guys are doing, and to see them buy that short track, or if they're bought it or just promoting it, whatever, it's awesome, and that's what the sport needs.
Wes, what does Leader Trail do in a USRA hobby stock? What is a good starting point? Also, does it have an effect on drive off? Wes, it definitely does. Lead will actually help the car come off the corner straighter. Um, Trail will actually help the car turn getting in better. So if you're struggling off the corner, the trend is that, most generally stock cars, whatever, we will actually run lead in the car, where in other words, the left side is slightly longer than the right side, because then the car, just like I said, it tends to straighten up better coming up off the corner. Jared said it makes sense on the 900. I'm in Chico, but we're done by 8:30 9 p.m. That's the key. I mean, trust me, Yeah, and these racetracks that work the racetrack and farm the racetrack and have all these classes and dink around and dink around and dink around. I don't have the patience for it anymore.
Yeah.
I'd much rather
No.
go there, watch a good show, go home, have a good time. Um, the problem is you can only talk to so many people. So, I mean, after a while, you've pretty well talked yourself out. Um, Jason, how can we get a little bit more grip and drive in the dry slick? Well, Jason, kind of like what we just talked with Wes there, leading the rear end a little bit, where in other words, uh, making the left side just a little bit longer, that definitely, would be something that would definitely help. Um, depending on what type of car you have, that's an easy deal. You have to be careful. A lot of times, though, people will actually put too much lead in it on a dry slick racetrack and actually make the car worse because what happens is you scrub traction, so then you actually break the car loose because you made it too tight, and so everything's a balance. I mean, a little may be great, but doesn't mean a lot would be a whole lot better. So you just have to be, you just keep in mind running a hobby stock. That would definitely help the car. Would a little would be definitely good. I would say 3/8 of an inch probably would be a good starting spot. Austin, what is a common theme now with dynamic rear steer? Does having too much rear steer make you tight? I've heard people having 2 inches of dynamic all the way to 7 inches. What's your thoughts? 7 inches would be a hell of a lot. Holy cow. That
Especially
thing
drive
would turn
shaft.
on a dime, man. Um, you
Yeah.
know,
So
go ahead.
I think so. It's called roll steer, right? So when the rear end is moving forward and the roll steering forward, there's no doubt that the shorter wheelbase helps it turn out of the fuel. When you get down to the middle of the corner and that rear end is all skewed and that rear end is pointing to the fence, a lot of the times, as soon as you apply fuel, the car is initially going to feel a tight situation, and then the instinct is to throttle through it so you don't run into your buddy. So roll steer will make you roll free, but when you go to pick up the fuel and it's pointed to the fence, it kind of gives you a tight feeling of traction. So that's why I say that these guys that are come from go-karts and don't really, they're so smooth. So they have just an astronomical amount of roll steer in the car. And you're like, how are they doing that? Well, if you can control that motion and have that car roll steer with, I wouldn't go to 7 inches, but if you can roll steer with the most amount of roll steer, and then when you pick up the fuel and you have that initial tight feeling, if you can drive through that and not overpower that grip level, I mean, you're gonna be fast. And I've watched these guys that are really doing that and understand that, and they're very good at what they do. Um, but most of the guys that run too much steer, too much roll steer, when they go to the fuel and they feel that tight, man, are they sideways? Because then you have the wheelbase and you have zero grip because you broke the tires loose and you're out to lunch.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely takes a special driver to actually, drive that stuff. You have to really be smooth. But like Chad just said, if you're really smooth with it, I mean, the key here is not to break traction. I mean, if you can roll through the middle of the corner and that thing goes in on its own, rolls through under traction, you're going to be faster. The race is won in phase two of the corner. So if you can go through phase two and be quicker than everybody else, you're already going to be faster off the corner, even though somebody else might have more traction than you, but you're going mile per hour, you're going so much faster. So, it's just a but the guys that are the throttle jockeys, the 7 inches, that might be a handful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun to go to the inside of the racetrack, and then you really can analyze that and see who's wide open and going nowhere, and who's pedaling and moving forward.
Yeah, no doubt. It's amazing. And like you said, you know, well, Ethan Braxman is a good example. Great go-kart racer. Keeps that thing nice and straight. Doesn't break traction. Definitely.
Yeah. What's the start times then for Tuesday? What's going on? What's the plan there?
Um, the pits are going to open at 3 o'clock. I think the grandstands will open at 5, and then the races, hot laps will be at 6. Races will start at 7. Um, Depending on the cars, how many heat races and how many B features we have. Um, the top 2 cars out of each heat race the winner of each heat race will automatically qualify for the A main, and then whoever has the most passing points in that heat race will be the other car that'll qualify. Everybody else will go to a B, and I think they'll take 4 cars. The way it's been in the past, now I don't know how these guys are going to do it, but the way we've done it in the past is we've had 4B features, and then we've taken like 2 cars out of each B or 4 cars out of each B. I think 2 cars out of each B, and like I said, go from there. Hi guys, where should we set the left rear chain in relationship to the right front? Um,
Well, it depends on a lot of variables on the left rear chain. Well, I don't know what kind of car you got.
yeah, um, they're kind of separate in effect. I mean, if the car's getting on the right front too hard, you can shorten the chain up a little bit, but they're kind of two separate things. Um,
Stock car. Stock car.
Stock car. Um, Biggest thing, like I said, now the trend on stock cars is starting to get as much drive angle as we can in that left rear tire because that's traction. And so they're actually running a lot of droop and seem to be a lot of guys are pretty successful with it. It gives them a lot of steer, so they roll through the middle of the corner pretty good and went pretty good. Uh, oh, Jared said, sorry, not the lights of Knoxville, meant Port Royal. They changed color is green and caution or red. Yeah, they do that a lot for the sport.
Yeah, I don't know if the stock car. I don't know whose chassis you got, Joe, but you could probably get a reference point from whoever the car builder is of a starting point.
That would be my say. That would definitely be the direction that I would go with. Thomas, we have a UMP open mod 4-bar car. What would cause the car to turn to the right when letting off the throttle and the car sets down on the left rear? Well, all the steer goes out of it. That's the big thing is when the car goes into the corner and you lift and the left rear drops, well, you had 3 inches of steer, and now all of a sudden that steer went out of it, so the car automatically thinks it's supposed to turn to the right and it's going to do that. Biggest thing is to try to keep the car from dropping on that left rear, either with a relatively aggressive shock or some real good trail braking. Brake floater would definitely be a help. Some of those kind of things would definitely help. But yeah, that's a must to keep that thing from dropping because that's miserable.
Yeah, I don't know what you have for a limiting chain. If you have a foam bump stop, or if you have a spring or Belleville washers, but if you have a spring on your left rear limit chain, the spring stores a bunch of energy as it's pulling, going down the straightaway and hiking up and at full droop. And then when you let out the fuel, it wants to pull the frame back down because of the stored energy in the spring. So if you do have a spring on the left rear limiter, I would probably take that out and go to a foam or a neoprene.
Our next show will be the 30th. So hopefully we'll be able to give you all of the review of the Harris Clash and some of the other races that are coming up. And like I said, don't forget, for you guys that are way out of town or whatever, definitely log on to imcatv.com and watch that race uh, on IMCA TV. Dorothy, stock car with lots of left rear droop. Does Chad have the right rear legal IMCA stock car droop cup to keep spring table better?
Yeah, we have, I don't know how many cups we're up to, but we have multiple drops, multiple different style cups. So I would just measure that at ride height from the ground up to the tip of the screw jack, and then look at what spring cups you have, and then you'll have to just analyze that situation and give us a call and tell us how far down you need to be compared to the cups you have. So if you measure all that, write down the part numbers if you have our cups, and then call us tomorrow. We can get you dialed in there.
Jim, opinion on using a 400-pound right front spring and how tall? BMOD. I don't know. 400-pound spring in my world sounds a little soft. Um, I probably wouldn't go anything under a 450. Um, we still, our standard out of the box spring set still is like a 500. Um, these cars are 2450, so they still have a little bit of weight to them, but Lance, why are we seeing more guys over indexing the left rear, camming over on the open A mod? Seeing camming over, seeing more guys in my area of this happening. Thanks, guys, for what you do. Maybe Chad can answer that one.
Well, I think they've just about made it illegal everywhere. It's got to come back. You can't just cam over and ride there. You won't pass tech. IMCA has a deck height rule. If you cam over, you're not going to pass tech. So the trend is to just get it over there and lay it on the arm, and the car has a lot of traction when you do that. It's not consistent and is a lot harder to drive. It has a lot of grip, but you won't pass tech. So the whole cam and over thing, there are ways to get it to come back, which is kind of a trade secret. So um, if you can figure out how to get it to cam over and then come back in tech, you're gonna have a definite advantage.
Thomas says he runs the Weir's limiter with the Belleville washers on the left rear.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Them little Belvilles don't have enough rebound rate to affect entry.
All right, Brian, our last question. Got a rookie sport mod driver having trouble with the push on the throttle, running left rear chain at 19 inches, 2013 GRT. Would shortening the chain help free middle off to help? No. If he's having trouble with a push on the throttle, well, I mean, shortening the chain could probably help, but the problem is when you shorten the chain, it's going to keep it off the right front, and that's absolutely not what we want to do, because otherwise it will push even more. Um, what would your suggestions be, Chad?
I would instantly look at the Panair. If you're tight before the throttle, I like to go to the Panair bar, rolling tight, if you will, on the Panair bar. And if you're tight when you pick up the fuel, it's probably maybe the pull bar. Them are the two things that I really instantly look at for that. Being it's a sport mod, it's a solid arm on the top, so um, throttle tight is probably the J bars, maybe buried on the pinion side.
Jared says 3/8 of an inch of right rear trail will be contributing to his low grip off. Yeah, most definitely. Running, in that situation, I would probably go the opposite and have 3 inches of lead. So my left side would be 3/8 of an inch longer. I think would definitely be better. And Lance says that they do have a deck height rule if it's enforced. Well, I'll tell you what, that's one thing that IMCA is really, they're really on that deck height rule. Yeah, all racetracks are really sticky on that deck height rule. All right, guys, great show. Appreciate all of you chiming in here. A lot of good questions, good content, and till we get to see you on the 30th, you'll have a great day. Make sure, like I said, those of you who are coming to the Harris Clash on Tuesday or watch it on IMCA TV, and we will see everybody back here on the 30th. Thanks, Chad.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.